Hello. How are we? You alright? I'm all good. I haven't saw you for a while. I know, I'm just saying. I'm having my dinner on the way over. Hey, how you doing? Troy, you alright?
Not too bad,
Yeah, I'm good. Other than spilling my food down me, literally last bite as well, I was fuming. Hey, you alright? You guys go. Oh, this is nice, isn't it? Nearly clap, yeah? Yeah. Take it away. Go straight down.
Which camera? That one. Yeah. Hi, I'm Callum from the Proud Hornets.
I'm Helen and I'm from Watford Ladies.
And I'm Troy from Watford Men's Team. Didn't know what to say at the end of that.
Yeah, he's gone with the men's. Yeah. It's not discriminatory. That well done.
So, Callum, obviously coming to football would have been, I don't know, was it eye-opening when you first come as a young boy to, because obviously you hear about the stereotypical, football fans, abusive, and obviously on the pitch we see a different narrative to probably what you would have seen. So can you tell us about that?
Yeah, when I first started coming, I was probably about 8-ish, so I wasn't fully aware of, not really aware of the surroundings or necessarily what certain words mean or anything like that. You just think it's angry people potentially shouting, so you just don't really have a full awareness of it. And also, being gay, you don't really have a concept of that either at that age, so you're not just switched on to things being said in the turnstiles. But I think as you get a bit older, sort of into your sort of early teenagers, and start to discover a bit more about yourself, and then what sort of offensive slurs and stuff mean, you do become more sort of switched onto it, and how it can make you feel a bit more insecure in where you're going. So for me personally, I sort of I never felt too scared to go to a game because of being gay or anything, but I did feel like I had to slightly change who I was, not talk about things I would have done.
Okay.
And try to as much as I could be ultra butch, sort of act hyper straight, I guess you'd say.
Do you see that change from teenagers to adulthood as well? Would there have been 3 different stages, as you say? You go from young boy, teenager, and then into being a man. Because I'd imagine as teenagers you still go with your parents.
Yeah,
and then afterwards, when you're coming on your own and with the lads, is it more of a different feel and aspect to it then?
I think, yeah, to some extent, because again, when you get into your 20s, I went off to uni at 18, and after that I had a sort of renewed sense of confidence in myself. I felt much more able to be who I wanted to be, and then that was the times when sort of rainbow laces and things started. So I think I was quite lucky in an aspect that I sort of grew up as things were changing, so people were getting more accepting.
Yeah.
So I don't think I've seen necessarily the bad side of it, and Watford in general, from the home fan point of view, is quite a nice club. I've heard more abuse when I've been with mates at other grounds around the country than I do at Watford. I'm not saying I haven't heard anything here before, but I think I was quite lucky in the sense that I never felt too scared to come to a game or threatened particularly. Just had to alter my acting for a certain way. And now in my 20s, I feel a bit more confident to talk about, going to a gay bar with my mates next to me, or whoever I'm with at the time, and not being too concerned that necessarily someone's going to take exception to it.
I was going to say, I personally, as a female football fan, I've been coming same as you since I was 8 years old. But because it's such a family club, I've never felt like, there's a girl or there's a woman. There's a lot of females that come to watch Watford. I was going to say, do you notice it different at other grounds? Like you said, that you maybe hear a little bit more. Do you think that's because you're an away fan? Or do you think it's because you're gay? Or, I don't know if there's a difference.
Well, I think that sometimes at the away grounds, it's when I've been sitting in the home ends. So actually, I don't want to ship any teams in here and get people hating me on Twitter or anything, but with a team that I actually play for, we have a partnership with the club, and we did some sort of, they bring us along for one of the sort of work in the community games, and they sort of announced us around the stadium, and then we sat in the grounds, and I heard someone in front of us say, "Did you see those fags on the pitch before the game?" And I was like, we're right behind you. I was like, this is really uncomfortable. But we didn't get abuse directed at us from a big portion of the crowd. It's more individual comments you hear from within.
Yeah.
And that was the only time at a football game I've had it directly sort of about me, not just about a gay person. Someone saying, is he your boyfriend or something like that,
Yeah,
to like the linesman or something. So yeah, it's more being in other grounds that I hear it, but
Do you think that's a football? Because I feel like, again, it's very easy from my position, but I feel like at Watford, as you say, is a very nice stadium. There's a lot of mix and match. Like, I think the best thing I've saw is when you see people with disabilities at the front.
Yeah.
It's still at the rookery. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In a lot of grounds, it's like people with disabilities are put to the side in a less crowded space. Yeah, exactly that. Yeah. Do you feel that there's enough being done just within society to make everything more equal? Or are you certainly talking about football? Because my big thing with everything in racism and discrimination is it's always pinpointed at just football. But I think it's a much bigger issue with everything.
I think football's a reflection on society in general, isn't it? It's a microcosm of the bigger picture.
And I think people at football feel it's somewhere they can get their anger from the week, or from, you know, not having enough money, or from, I don't know, partly sort of political atmosphere or anything, just the anger they can't get out during the week. They feel they can just direct it, you know, players, referees, other fans.
And
sometimes.
it's acceptable, they feel like it's just...
Because you say things that you would never say.
Of course,
to like someone's face. You hear things, people calling people all sorts of things, and you think...
Yeah, it's not right.
You'd never say it.
I've been on and done a lot of interviews, and people talk about Brexit as heightened things.
Yeah.
Do you believe that or not? I personally don't. I think it's all the issues have been there for so long that
I think
Brexit's
it's
been
probably a bit more
5
of an excuse, isn't it?
Exactly.
Like hiding behind it, and you know, this, that, and the other's wrong with the country or whatever, and it's an excuse to do it, and so that's, you know. But I agree with you. I don't think you can blame Brexit. Maybe it's not helped, but I don't think that's not the reason at all.
No, I think there's a lot of factors contributing to why people do it, and it's always been there. And I sort of just wonder, do you feel like things have got worse lately, like in terms of racial, like, against like, sex or gender or anything like that? Do you think people are reporting it more because?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I don't think it's ever gone away. I think there's just bigger platforms and bigger, everything's more accessible with phones and social media. You can literally, you hear about things all the time. The England bowler just got abused in New Zealand. Would that really have been reported on maybe 5-6 years ago? Probably not. And I think everything now is just more. I think people are starting to take aware and understand that it's not okay to be, you know, racist or be discriminatory towards anybody. But I just think that with all of it, like, we kind of make exceptions for everything. Yeah. It's like, I don't know any better. You do. You haven't been told before. Like, someone hasn't turned around and gone, that's not okay. No. And that's what's changing a little bit now, that is not okay. For me, I think the bigger thing would be the punishment is still not set in stone for anything. It's like, no matter what you say, it's like, where did you say it? How many people heard? Was it caught on camera? Yeah. Who did you say it to? Who's reporting it? There's all that. There should be a set punishment in place for everybody, in my opinion. That
probably puts people off reporting it because you think, it's too much of a process, and at the end of it, am I going to be believed anyway? Yeah. So you kind of just put it to the back of your mind and, you know, be done with it, leave it in the past. But that, like you said, it shouldn't be the way. If you know what the punishment's going to be and that people are going to trust you, then you're much more likely to report it, I think.
Do you see big change within the women's game? Because I did an interview, I think last week, with a lady from Give Me Sport, and then obviously the topic with women's football at the moment, it should be equal pay. And my opinion on that was very much, yes, it should be equal pay if the business makes sense. Yeah. That was my stance on it with anything in any line of work. If your company is making millions of pounds, then naturally that should reflect to the workers. So I think the biggest thing from that is coming from the US and what they're doing and saying. Megan Rapinoe, people like that who have got this massive platform, but they're not saying that every women footballer in the world should be getting the same as the men, because that wouldn't make sense. You wouldn't say that every male player would get the same. It just doesn't happen. But where the US are different is that they make the money to justify it. Their shirt sold more shirts on Nike.com than any other shirt has done in a year, any sport, or any male or female, sorry.
So they're kind of justifying this whole equal pay thing. The rest of us, we're not, because we don't bring in the crowds, we don't bring in the sponsorships, we don't bring in the revenue. So for me, that argument's a little bit silly, and I've never been on the side of it should be equal. But what I don't get is why, particularly on social media, and you get it more now because women's football is in the spotlight a little bit more, women's sport in general, people just decide to comment on it when there's no need. You know, like something goes on Twitter, a video, oh yeah, but did you see that time someone hit a corner straight out of play? Well, yeah, but that's happened in any level of football, male or female, and they like to make an issue of something and degrade it just because they can. And it's kind of like you can like both, you don't have to compare them, and that's what gets me is the comparison all the time. Oh yeah, but you can't run as fast, or you can't kick it as far. But I'm not competing against Troy, so I don't need to be able to run as fast as it. Like what I do for what I do, like what you do for what you do. You don't need to compare it. That's the thing that sort of baffles me the most, is this constant need to put one above the other, and it's unnecessary.
So have you seen a shift since the World Cup this year in like attitudes towards the women's game at all? Yeah,
I think there definitely has been. Because it's been showcased more, with more exposure, you're going to get more comments, good or bad. But I definitely think, you know, more people watched it because they wanted to watch it. You know, you still get the odd person, oh, I don't want it shoved in my face on the BBC and all this. You don't have to turn your telly on. But there's definitely, people definitely seem to be enjoying it much more. You know, Spurs and Arsenal got 38,000 last weekend, and there's obviously still work to do, but I certainly think the younger generation are kind of seeing it as normal. You know, my kids are growing up with a mother that plays football, and to them that's normal, and hopefully to the friends at school it's not it's not out of the ordinary. And I think that's all it is. There's no point in trying to change the opinion of the generations that have already formed their opinions, and concentrate on the younger ones and try and just let them enjoy it for what it is.
Well, I think I saw something about, after the first or second week of the WSL, that attendance records had already broken the whole of last year's season put together. So that's
and I think what the England team did in the World Cup and the one before that, I think they've definitely made turned people's heads and made them realise that it's something to get behind. So you've got to give credit to them for doing that. It's just now up to the clubs and associations to try and jump on that and keep it going. And success breeds success. I've said that quite a few times, but it's up to you to capitalise on that and not just hope for things on the pitch. They're not always going to go well, so you have to know what to do when things aren't going quite so well.
Do you find when you're on Twitter that you sort of pay attention to any racist abuse you get, or sexist or anything? Does it do you just try not to look at it, just to completely ignore it? Because obviously you're much more in the limelight, so it must get...
I'm a different person. I read every comment. I've said that before in many interviews. That I genuinely love the balance of you're rubbish to you're great. It keeps me centred. The racial abuse and the you're this, that and the other, to me, genuinely I laugh at it. I grew up in pubs and in a different time before the internet, so I had a lot more things said to me as a younger kid than anyone could ever say to me online. And I'm very aware of, like you said, no one's going to come to my face and say, you're this, you're that. It just doesn't happen. So I take it for what it is. What it gets to me is when it goes into my family and people start commenting on my kids' pictures, or start commenting or sending messages to my missus about me, and it's like, if you want it, bring it here. This is, and at the end of the day, it's my job. I'm not just,
It's not your job to be abused, though.
No, but I'm saying I'm not an influencer that's trying to use social media to be better in life. It's literally just a case of, this is me as a normal person giving you an element of my life. Yeah. And like you said,
have you ever been tempted to stop altogether on social media?
No, I did after the Wolves game. I took the comments off because I got two brothers that are teenagers. So I'm like, how can they be saying to me, do you want me to comment back for you? And I'm like, no, you should actually be seeing it. You shouldn't actually be, you should still be a kid. So I took my comments off for a little while, just to make a little stand and be like, look, it's not okay to see all of this, like monkey abuse and, you're this, you're that. For all of, I've got 130,000 followers. Like, that's not okay to me. So I'm not expecting the FA or Watford or anyone to help me out. I'll always help myself out. So that was just something I did, and I'm back, with the comments up and stuff now. But I'd purposely go through, and I think we probably get rid of about 6, 7, maybe 8 comments a day.
Really?
Just to, just to keep it off and try and keep it as clean as possible.
You said you didn't expect the FA to do anything. Do you think they should do something though?
Yeah, I'm a massive advocate for that, for everyone to do it, because we scream change and never do anything. That's it with any line of work. We want to change, we want to help. The biggest thing for me is obviously the racism part. You get 2 weekends, and only last year we seen a campaign, a proper campaign behind it, with it being on Sky, with it being T-shirts and corner flags and everything. But I'm not sure how long the rainbow situation will be going, maybe 4 or 5 years?
Yeah, maybe actually.
Yeah, but literally from the jump it's been laces, armbands, corner flags. Do you understand?
It feels like it's had more of a solid effort behind it.
Yeah, exactly.
From the get-go.
100%, yeah.
It's been like half-assed for...
Yeah, exactly. And from our side of things, you look at it and you go, we get a shirt to wear in the warm-up. Now in any game, how many people get there for the warm-up?
Yeah, and if they do, are they watching what shirt?
Exactly, they're probably going and getting a burger and trying to get an autograph for the kids or whatever. So the message was lost a lot, and I made big arguments as to why that shouldn't be the case. But yeah, with every lane of discrimination, we have to keep pushing it. I don't feel like we can go, but this month is just racism. Yeah. This month is just, we have to do it across the board. Because I said this before, in January you won't see anything about keep racism out. It'll be done. Yeah. You won't see anything to do with the rainbow. It's like you get a little window of opportunity.
Tick the box.
Yeah, there you go. You've done it.
Yeah.
But these situations and issues still arise week in, week out. So what are we going to do about it?
What's your thoughts on the rainbow laces? Do you think it has the impact it should?
Yes and no. Like sort of for the same reason we've been saying. Like it should be for all these things. It should be a continuous effort throughout the year. It shouldn't just be 1 or 2 games a season. It should be constantly. Then I do think there is a good place for it because it does create a lot of visibility. But at the same time, I think there still more can be done. Like there can be with everything. Like there's not necessarily easy enough to report the abuse or like whatever it is, or it's just I don't know. It's not. I don't know what the answer is, or there even is an easy answer. I think it's just educating people over time and just. Yeah. I mean, as you know, the younger generations these days tend to be more sort of switched on to this stuff anyway, a bit more open-minded to difference. So I'm hoping as that sort of goes through, we'll see all these issues just fade, or mostly fade away. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I think rainbow laces is good, but there can always be more done to help.
And I think, and that's why I think the We initiative here at Watford actually, hopefully, can work, because you're going to see a full circle of closure as well. So if you report something, go straight to the police, and then we're going, well, you've got to deliver now. Yeah. Because if you don't deliver, what's the point? So that's where we can then start channeling our anger for results at a certain place. You know, if Hertfordshire hate crime unit don't come up with absolutely anything, but we see we've had 200, 300 cases. What's the point? Yeah. That'll be the thing. Well, what is the point? Don't come and ask us for any help. What's the point? And then you take your grievances with that and move on. But no, I think no one anticipates it's going to be easy. It's definitely. I think we're all aware that it's going to take years, if not generations, to get to an equal playing field. But
and there will always be that one person as well, like
of course,
the small minority that just kick up a fuss about anything. So. Do you have these sort of discussions in the changing rooms ever? Like, do you talk about like racism campaigns or like rainbow laces campaign or anything like that? Is it something that's talked about?
It's just what people don't understand. They put a changing room and think it's not an office. It's the same as an office. Depending on what's happened, you get people talking about rainbow laces. I'm a celebrity. Brexit. Like, people just sit and talk about random bits and pieces. It's not. Everyone has this idea that it's like when you played football, just you turned up, put your boots on, got out.
Talk about your game.
Yeah,
you
that's
don't
it.
at all.
Like,
Probably the
we're
last
there
thing you
for,
talk about.
exactly. Yeah, we're there for hours. It's our job, so it's not a
Yeah.
case of you just come in and solely talk football. We talk about everything, and whatever the topic is, and it might just be a simple conversation. Someone says something, and then that sparks a debate, and everyone starts talking about it. But yeah, every day there's definitely something different being spoke about.
Do you think, talking about rainbow laces, and obviously women's football's slightly different, there's a lot more openly gay female footballers. What sort of impact do you think it will have when a male player, there will be someone that is brave enough to come out? Do you think that's going to be something that's surely going to make a huge change? Or do you think you can understand why someone won't come out?
I definitely understand why someone wouldn't come out.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't come out as a player just because.
Can I ask why? I'm genuinely
It's
interested
sort of
to know
just.
that.
I think just the abuse, you know, that you'd probably get, because fans, like you say, will pick up on a lot of things, like small things, and just sort of abuse you a bit about it, like just in the sort of guise of banter.
Yeah.
And I think because a gay player would be so different to anything, like it's so out there, it's just, I think it'd be very hard, especially if they did start looking at social media. I think there'd be a lot of not great comments, like a lot of homophobia across there. I do think if someone did come out though, it might take them nearly having to be a bit like a sort of self, like,
Sort of put yourself
out there. Just
Sacrifice themselves for it.
yeah, put your neck on the line, and eventually it will change things. Like, people would then be like,
Do you not think the first gay player, I think the open gay playing football, I think that's a big thing as well.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people wait till they retire
Yeah.
and go, oh,
Exactly, yeah.
I'm at the
By the
limelight
way,
now,
yeah.
I'll say it.
Yeah.
Do you not think that first player will genuinely get massive backing now?
I think it would be very sort of split. I think majority of people, I think, would probably, or a lot of people would be like backing them. Some people just be like, sort of like you see on Twitter, I don't really care who you sleep with, just play good football.
Yeah.
And that's, to me, that's the same support, because you're not actually hating on them, you're not like giving them abuse for it. But then there will still be like a sort of 20% of people maybe will
So
take.
I think within the community, the footballing community, definitely, and that's just in the workplace in general now. There's so many guidelines and what you can say, what you can't say. I think you just naturally, I could only talk on my experiences. Okay, you're gay.
Cool.
Yeah. What more is it? Like,
Yeah.
that's just how I see it. What more is it to talk about?
So I think it'd be quite. I think in the dressing rooms, I'd be interested to know what your point of view is, but I reckon it'd be better than with the fans. I think the fans would be the people more likely to make
then,
comment and then.
I just feel like I think it's different because fans are very fickle anyway. So you're talking about like abuse that they'll be getting. They're getting abuse anyway.
That's true.
'Cause
I think it's so territorial, isn't it? The home fans, I think, would back them. I'd like to think if one of your guys came out come Saturday, they'd be supported like they would.
no one would
The away
go,
fans are going to abuse them because
That's
it's
what I think
something
it'd
to
be.
latch onto.
I think that's what
If they're
it'd
not
be.
going to latch onto that, they're going to latch onto something else. There will be something thrown at them,
But then
which
there's
is obviously not right, but
the line that has to be trod is between what's like just what would they have got anyway, and then what might be like, you know,
Yeah.
because it's sort of, you know, like you're seeing in Italy at the moment, a lot of the black players are getting booed and stuff, and there's a reason for that. It's not because they're not having a good game, it's because of their skin colour. So I think that would be potentially what a minority of fans would do. And like you look at sort of all these polls and stuff that they do, like that you see come out of football, and again, like 75% plus of fans would be okay with it, but there's that 15-20% that.
Do you not think though, again, in a generation where everything is, you're exposed to everything, you know, as parents we're saying, you're trying to restrict what your kids see because there's so much out there now. It just go. I feel like it'd be a topic for a week.
yeah.
Do you know, like
Possibly, yeah.
possibly less in terms of papers and whatever. But then after the fact, it'd be okay. You're just a normal person that's cracking on playing football. So did you come under a lot of pressure with obviously being what we call our prime as footballers, being pregnant? What changed in terms of, or if anything changed from within the industry?
Yeah, so in the short space of time, so Emily's 5 now, a lot has changed in women's football. So things that happen then may not happen now in the sort of professional environment. So I can't really comment on how contracts and stuff work in terms of maternity at this moment. But before I was even pregnant, I was playing for a team, and it came to the end of season, contract news and stuff like that. And the manager actually said to me, "We've heard that you want to start a family, which obviously means you wouldn't be able to play." And I was kind of like, whoa. Like, firstly, you've heard, that hasn't come from me, it's somebody's, I don't know who, why, but somebody's come and said that they're thinking Helen wants to start a family. And it was kind of like, well, if you don't want to sign me, that's fine, but have the balls to tell me, if I'm not good enough, that's okay, great, I'll deal with that, I'll move on. But don't try and use something like that as a reason not to give me a contract. That sort of hurt me a little bit, and I thought, because as I said, I wasn't pregnant at the time, and it was like, I might not be able to have kids, so I might be denied a contract, which would never happen in any other type of work. No one would say, we're not going to employ you because you might have a family. It doesn't happen. Obviously with sport and football it's different, because I'd have to stop working a lot sooner than I would in a normal job. But that came and went. I left that club, obviously. Had Emily, and then I thought, right, okay, I'm back playing. And then it came again, I was at a different club. Both of these are female managers as well, by the way. Yeah, which makes it even worse. And we won promotion to the top league, and football just become a professional league then. And I'd had a really good end to the season. I'm not one who shouts and screams about how good I am, but that particular season I'd done well. And they didn't want to offer me a full-time contract because she didn't think I'd be able to commit to it with having a kid.
Wow.
And I was like, so you're going to make that decision for me rather than...
No, we give you the option.
And again, it was kind of like, is that a reason or is it an excuse? And for me, it felt like more of an excuse, because...
So is there nothing within, and this is really fascinating to me, because obviously from a male perspective, we get, I think, 10 to 14 days as maternity leave. Okay. Which no one ever takes the full.
I was going to say, I didn't think
you probably get depending on when the baby's born. If the baby's born on a Sunday, you probably get 3 days and then you're back to work. But I just from hearing that, surely there has to be an ethical line of conduct that people change.
I think there must be. As I said, when beforehand it was all part-time, it was no, your contract was per game or whatever. And then I've never actually had a professional contract, so I don't know what is now in them. Okay. There's a girl at Man United now who's pregnant, and she's still in and around the squad, so I'm assuming she's still employed by them. Yeah. But again, how long do they give her after that? Because you're not going to have the baby and be back in and playing.
So when did you stop? When was the cut-off in terms of looking after the baby and looking after your own well-being, because you can't be taking physical contact after a certain amount of time, surely. With
Emily, I stopped just after 12 weeks, and with Charlie, it was about 14. He actually scored a goal for Wales. So I stopped 14 weeks, which is just over 3 months, and then I was back training about 6 weeks after, which was probably too soon, but. Yeah.
You just enjoyed
wanted to get back on it. But I was fortunate that with Charlie, I'd signed for Watford when I was actually pregnant, which was massive for me because of the experiences I'd had with the 2 previous clubs. It was really nice to have a club, not just the manager, but Ed, who was here before, the general manager, and Rich Walker. They had the belief in me that they were like, no, we want you to sign. We'll sign you now, and when you're ready, you're ready. And that took a massive pressure off of me, because it was in the summer that I had him in September, and by that time most squads would have been filled. If I'd have waited any longer, I might not have been able to sign for anyone. So that was like a big change for me, so different to my other experiences, that they signed me and were like, you take as long as you need. So that was good. So I think I made my second debut for Watford about 7 weeks post-birth. Wow. I was in no fit shape. But
Would you say there's pressures then from sort of some clubs in particular to put off having children until as late as possible.
Oh, 100%. I know players that I'm friends with that want families, but they're like, oh, I'm not. Partly it's a selfish reason. They don't want to have them until they're finished, which I totally understand. And if I'm honest, I always thought that once I had kids, I wouldn't come back. It's each to their own. It's hard physically more than anything. You know how it is when how tired you get, no sleep, and then having to get up and train or whatever. But I think there are that, you know, contracts tend to be shorter in women's football as well. So you might only have a year left, and you think, well, if I get pregnant now, by the time I'm ready to come back, my contract's finished. Do I sign 2 years knowing that I'm not going to see it? There's all sorts of things to balance, and so I think for that reason, a lot of players will be like, no, I'll retire and then I'll start a family, which is sad, really, because I love having the kids around, like, and still be playing. I think it's quite cool. It's nice to have them on the side.
Again, that's why it's funny to me when I'm listening, because it's what you're talking about. It's the same in me. Yeah. I enjoy having my kids at the games. It's a proud moment to be saying that they can go to school and go, oh, my mum or my dad was playing and they scored a goal and I was there to watch it. You know, they look at you like
from the Hornets shop
exactly.
Or whatever,
they look at you like superheroes in that instance, and it's just funny listening to you speak. Because I'm literally like, well, I go through the same things, other than the fact that I don't have to worry about childcare, obviously, because my partner would do that. But no, it's amazing how uneducated I think the word is, because I never would have thought to ask you what happens in them situations if we wasn't having this type of chat.
People don't, because it's not that common. I think you don't see a lot of it, so
All right, random question. So going to complete. This is what I do. I'll go there and come back. So for you guys, what do you see Watford can do more as? Because I think we have to take control of things that we can take control of and affect. Again, we're all we have a larger amount of power within Watford than we would if we were just talking with, you know, a mayor of Watford or something would really talk to us. So whereas we're in Watford, what can we do to make the game day or just the experience of being a Watford fan more equal and more enjoyable?
I think since starting the Proud Hornets, it's about 2 years ago now, we have had great support from the club. Like, it's been, I know clubs that either just the clubs aren't interested in having like an LGBT supporters group or don't really want to get too involved, because some have like a policy of we don't get involved with any supporters groups, we just let you do your thing. Yeah. But Watford have been fantastic. Obviously last year having the rainbow display against the City game was, you know, working with the 1881 for that was amazing. Like, I've not seen anything else like that. So I think Watford is doing quite a lot of good, and I think part of it is down to us as the Proud Hornets to keep being visible, keep, when it does come around to Rainbow Laces, make sure we make a big thing of it, make sure it is that we do stand out, so people feel who might be closeted or might just stop going to games because of their sexuality, they can feel, do you know what, I feel comfortable here. I'm gonna, you know, I could go and meet up with them before, because like some people might not want to go to a game by themselves, but they know that we're there and they can come with us. Yeah. It'll give them the confidence. So I think what we're doing at the moment is good, but just keep being visible and keep working with the club and with other fans as well, just to make it a more embracing place. Because I never would have imagined 5-6 years ago a massive rainbow across the Rookery, but I never would have imagined doing it with like sort of the core fan group. Like, it's probably part of an issue of my own stereotyping, that you think, proper football fans, they might be a bit, I don't know how they'd react to us, but they were just incredible. So welcoming, so warm, so pushing us to dream bigger for it, because we weren't sure what we were going to do, and they were like, no, let's do this big crazy thing. So I think, just working with your fellow fans and
is there anything the players can do that you would like to see?
I think just, I don't know, at those events, maybe just like at the rainbow things, just maybe just tweet about it or something, just because you do have the reach, like you say, 130,000 odd followers.
Oh, there's people with way more than me there. Exactly. They're interested in it. I'm not interested in social media, but yeah.
Because I know like some players have like, you know, sort of tweeted about it before. I think Hector Bellerin's done some stuff, because he gets quite a lot of abuse himself, because he's, you know, into fashion, so he must be gay. So he's quite good at like tweeting about it. I think Olivier Giroud's done a tiny bit as well, I've seen before.
Yeah.
So I think just, even in an interview, just maybe like a mention of it, like on that game weekend, or just a tweet about it, just subtly but slowly spreads out to people that maybe are like...
Different target audiences as well, isn't it? Yeah.
Because I mean, you know, I can go and speak to, I don't know, not that I have done, but Attitude Magazine or something about this, or they could cover this, and that's sort of, who's that really affecting? Like,
yeah, exactly. You said, yeah.
Either people that are super into like reading Attitude Magazine who are straight, I don't know how many there are of those, to be honest, or like gay people. So I think just trying to get out to different audiences, like you say, different audience. So just tweets, maybe. So at the displays, maybe just retweet it, reference it at all, and that's just a subtle thing, and it's not feeling like it's forced down someone's throat. It just feels a bit more like. But I think it's not just down to the players to tell fans how to act. It's down to fans to.
Yeah, but it just interests me from the players' side of it. We are very sheltered in terms of, right, you're going to do this next week. Is that okay? We don't actually know the full ins and outs of it, or it might be, Helen, need you next Wednesday. Is that okay with you? Yeah. And then sometimes people will turn up and be just like, what are we doing then? Yeah. They literally have no clue. So I think, definitely the being made aware of what's going on and what groups are, if you might have like I said, a big rainbow display. If we already knew that was coming up, it could be a case of make sure you get there early, guys, due to this. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Just some, as you say, subtle, little, but it's a help, and you then and your community all have a connection with the fans, with the players. Sorry, where you're going, they actually care. But I don't think a lot of it is people don't care. They're just unaware of it. It's actually happening.
And obviously you've got a lot of other things to focus on game day itself, like.
No, but no one ever forgets to put a picture up on game day.
No. True.
Do you know what I mean? So in that instance, I'd take that away as an excuse, but it might just be that people genuinely don't know that that's happening. So, no, again, for me, it's good to know, and it definitely helps us in terms of making it a good experience for Watford, because in my, 10 years here now, but however long I've got left, I want to say that at the start of it was this, and I was a huge part of it being here. That's what I'd like to do, look back at my time at Watford, whenever that ends, and be like, no, I was part of making this big transition and making Watford what it is today and what people want to do in the future.
Definitely, yeah.
Is there a big display planned this year?
I think so, yeah. It's sort of still in like the plan. I know it's not too far away, it's in the planning stages, but we're going to be actually doing something with the Palace group as well, because at the Palace game, so it sort of puts, because obviously we have got quite a big rivalry with Palace, so it sort of puts those those different sides to one side. So we're going to be doing something with them, like with some flags and stuff. So it will be quite a.
That's cool.
Like we can come together for like a bigger goal sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, I'll say on camera that you let me know what it is, and I'll make sure it's tweeted and posted.
Well, I'll hold you to that.
No, that's no problem. That's no problem.
And if you can get some people down to our games.
I've already been trying. You saw that. I'm already posting.
True.
And I want to make a game this year. That's my one to you. I'll make a game this year. It's on Sundays, though, isn't it? Most times. Yeah. Thank you guys for the chat.
Thank you.
I think that's a nice way to wrap it up, no? See?
Cool.
And like that, it's finished.
Click here for more videos. Or here.